Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes while everybody is getting logged in to go over a few notes for anybody who might be new. If you have attended the class before, one of these classes before, as always, welcome back. We're glad to have you. And if you are new, welcome. We're also really glad that you're here. This is a webinar style class, so you're going to ask questions during this class by clicking on the Q&A box, type those questions in, and then I'll be relaying the questions to Pam, who is with us today. If you have any questions during the class, please feel free to submit those. If you have any tech issues, please feel free to submit those as well. I'll be monitoring and I will do the best I can to help you. I think that's about it on my end. Quick introduction for those of you who aren't familiar with Pam. Pam is a Rosarian with the Hey Pam, always happy to have you with us.
Thank
Pam's
you.
with the Arlington Rose Foundation. She cares for thousands of roses in the area, so is just definitely the best person to talk to about anything rose related. And for pruning today, a fantastic resource to have. And Pam, you keep your own garden with roses as well. And
Oh,
I've
yeah.
seen pictures of your roses. They're absolutely stunning. I always love these classes because I learn so much from you and I get to see these beautiful flowers. So I think that's it. I'm going to let you go ahead and get started. And I did forget, we are recording today. So if anybody needs to leave early, you can always access this class tomorrow on our YouTube channel. So that's it from me. Pam, I will let you get started. And as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah. Danny, you want to call up that first slide? Okay. So today our topic is pruning, and we're going to walk through all the aspects of it and things you can do now. Don't let the false warm weather right now. We're going to have a big warm up, at least in this DC metro area. Don't run out and start pruning. There are many other tasks you can do before then. So let's go through what we're going to cover. So we're about no fear pruning. So I want to walk you through how to get from the photo on the left to the photo on the right. The one on the left is one that, grew all year and it wasn't trimmed back at all in winter, but we did our spring pruning on that rose bush and the 230 other rose bushes in this particular garden. And you can see the end result. So I always love the before and after picture because it gives people a good visual. And again, it's no fear pruning. And if you know what you're looking for, we do a lot of hands-on pruning. And maybe on the first bush, you may be timid, but by the fifth bush, you'll be pruning like a pro. And that's my goal today, is to walk you through the process. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we'll go through some basics about pruning window, using the right tools, how to clean them, cutting principles, what to cut, where to cut, and how climbers may be a little different. So let's talk about the pruning window, okay? The pruning window is not now, at least in our area. Typically, you can, the ground needs to warm up a little bit more. And we kind of use as a rule of thumb, when the first forsythia blooms in your neighborhood. And, I look at the DC area, Southern Maryland, DC, Northern Virginia, and we all have different growing climates. And so I know DC, because of the heat and it's not so windblown. They are typically 10 days ahead of us. If you live in the, what I call the countryside, you're going to be maybe 10 days behind that. So that pruning window depends on where you live. And it typically, as a general rule of thumb, in this area is it opens like March 15th to April 5th. So don't worry about it being, the end of March and your bushes have started to leaf out. That doesn't matter. And you say, oh my gosh, I haven't pruned my roses. You do want to do your surgical pruning in the spring. Hopefully everyone did a cosmetic cut back to keep your rose bushes from whipping in the winter winds and to keep heavy snow and ice off the canes, off big long canes, the arching canes, and didn't break. So if you cut them back, they didn't break. So hopefully you did that. And now we're ready for our surgical pruning. And our goal today is to take the fear out of it. We want to use certain tools, and this is a good thing to do, this week. And if you can put the focus here, Danny, that would be great. So I've got my Velcro pruners, okay, right here, and I'm going to clean them up. I have them soaking right now in a little warm water and a little Dawn dish detergent, because I didn't do a good job of cleaning them at the end of the year. And my pruners get a lot of work. This is a folding saw. I just love these folding saws. And this is a Felco saw that Maryfield sells. We won't be using it today. I can't close it. We won't be using it today because my potted rose bushes that I brought for the demo, there's no need. But if you have roses in the ground, you definitely need a good pruning saw. And a lot of us need loppers. This is a 12-inch handle lopper size. It's a Corona. They're very lightweight, and they have a wide mouth. These are great for pruning, particularly when you have very large bushes and you really need to get in there without getting torn up. And or you can use even heavier duty loppers. They come 2 foot long and even a wider face. So bypass pruners. They're bypass. You don't want flat. You don't want anvil. You want bypass pruners because you want it to not flatten the canes, but to grasp the canes and embrace the canes. I'm going to let them continue to soak. Okay. Then I have some Gooby Gone, and that takes away sap and debris. And then to oil the hinges and to also help get rid of some of the debris, I use just WD-40. Okay, so let's see. I've had these soaking a little bit. Now I'll pull them out. Okay, I'm going to use a little material on here, okay, to again loosen the dirt. And then I just have a steel wool, okay. I'm going to hold these and just work on the blades. And all I'm trying to do is clean them up right now. And the more you clean, the better off you are. Let's get rid of all that sap. And you should clean your pruners depending on how often you use them. Every month, every week if you use them a lot. Okay. Get back in here. Yeah. You can see this is coming off. Okay. Now I'm going to use my WD-40. Oh, Danny, you want to open that door? What? I'll pretend. Squirt, squirt. Okay, with the WD-40. I remember last time we had a hard time breathing after I used it because we're in an enclosed room. Okay. So, they cleaned up nicely. I don't know if you can see that. Whoop, but I'll continue to continue to work on them, but you get the idea. You just have an old rag handy and just continue to do the Dawn in warm water, the Gooby Gone, and the WD-40, and use your steel wool, and you'll be good to go. Okay. So now that you've got your pruners clean, what you want to do is sharpen them. And this is really important before you start to prune, okay? And it's so easy. I'm using a Corona sharpener today. They're Felco sharpeners. They're diamond sharpeners that you can get at your local hardwood store. Get one large enough that you're not constantly losing it or misplacing it, or have a place where you can always keep it and always know it's there. But basically, it's no different than sharpening, your steak knives. There's only one side on your pruners, your bypass pruners, that you're sharpening. And you want to hold your blades away from you. And you're just doing a couple of sharpening edges. And this is on this Corona. This is the sharpener here at the end. And you're doing the beveled edge, okay, the downward beveled edge, okay, on this. And if you go in little small circles, okay, that helps get the burrs out, and then you strike it all the way through, and then you can turn it on the back and see if you have any burrs, and you just strike it a couple of times, and you're good to go. Your pruners are sharp. So that's what you want to do before you get started, okay? And then there's one more step, and that is sanitation. This is just a little spray rubbing alcohol, okay? And I just do a couple of squirts, and this sanitizes your blades. Now you can also use rubbing alcohol, hydrogen peroxide. I love these squirt bottles because it keeps it nice and easy, and it's very handy. And sometimes I have it literally have it hanging on my back pocket, and like every 10th bush or so, I will sanitize my pruners. You have to be very careful with the spring pruning because sometimes diseases emerge, and you don't want to be taking a disease from one bush to another, or even worse, from one garden to another. So if it's a large garden, a couple hundred rose bushes, you can even take bleach and do a dilution of bleach and put it at the end of a row in a bucket, and at each end, and you can just dip as you go. I find the spray bottles of rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide to be the easiest. And if you're like me, if around bleach, I get bleach on everything I wear. So it'll save your clothes just by doing something simple. Okay, but you can use anything. I understand that bleach and alcohol may be quicker to pit your blades, and hydrogen peroxide is a little bit easier. But if you switch out, I think you're going to end up at the same place. And if you're sharpening your pruners often, it really doesn't matter. Okay. So these are just the very basic tools that you need, and it's certainly an activity that you can do now. Okay. I want to back up for a second and talk about why prune, because it is such an important function. It is for the health of the bush. Okay. You're also shaping the bush for a beautiful growth pattern. But more than anything, it is for the health of the bush. And I demonstrated it so many times that there was that one large garden, and I got behind on pruning, and there were these shrubs. It Olivia Rose Austin, and it's a beautiful, beautiful pink shrub. And those bushes had gotten so large, and it was only 5 of them, but to prune, it would take probably those 5 like 2 hours to do the job correctly. And I just never could fit it in. And so they went through the spring growth, and uh, they weren't beautiful. They were spindly. They bloomed, but there were these small blooms kind of at the top. They weren't shaped, and so it didn't have that lovely effect that it should have had. So after the spring bloom, I pruned them up like they're supposed to, and got them back in shape. So if you miss pruning, you can always go and prune, but the hotter it gets, the more the bush will sulk. And that's what happened with these. The bush sulked a little bit, and it took a little while longer to repeat. So people ask me, so once you do this surgical pruning, how long does that take for that rose bush to come back? From the time you cut, you do your surgical spring prune, the time you get blooms, depending on the variety. The truth is going to be somewhere, and depending on the weather, how hot, how quickly it heats up. It will certainly be between 6 to 8 weeks. And that's when you'll see your spring blooms. Okay, Danny, would you go back to the?
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. We do have no fear pruning hands-on events if you're in the area and would like to join us. We offer, we do a demo, and you bring your pruners. We help you clean them, sharpen them, and sanitize them. And then we demo, and then you're hands-on pruning away with an expert coach. And our first pruning is March 15th, and that's Sunday 2 to 4. And that's at Columbia Garden Cemetery, Rose Garden in Arlington Boulevard. And it's free, and would love for you to join us. We have a ton of fun there. And there are a lot of different varieties that you can practice on. And then on March 18th is a Wednesday, 10 to noon. Come to Columbia Garden Cemetery. I'll be there continuing with pruning, and you're welcome to come and get instruction and help out there as well. And then on March 21st, I mentioned this, it's for members only. We're pruning at a members home in Round Hill, Virginia, so that we can address the needs of the rose growers in the countryside. And that will be for members only, and it will be by registration. Okay. So I'd love to see you at any of those pruning events. Go ahead.
Go to tomorrow.
Yep.
No, sorry.
Okay, you can become a member of Arlington Rose Foundation. I would love for you to become a member. We do over 15 webinars and interactive events, during the course of the year. You can go online to arlingtonrose.org and become a member, or you can mail a check to Arlington Rose Foundation. Don't let the name Arlington fool you, because we're 80 years old. And we've grown out of Arlington. We service Southern Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia, a very, very wide territory. And 1 year is a whopping $18, 2 years $34, and 3 years $48. And we're focused on education. One of the big events that we hold here at Maryfield Garden Center is our Rose and Photography Show. And that is on the Memorial Day weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We hosted that weekend. So I'd love for you to come. You can come on Friday afternoon and stage and get help with entering roses in a competition. And certainly if you've done a good job pruning and a good job growing, it's a great way to show off your roses and share your roses with other people. And we always have a great public turnout, and we have our top growers here, and it's a great way to network and learn more about growing roses. And I'm sure a fragrant rose will catch your nose, and a beautiful hybrid tea or shrub will catch your eye. That's how I see something at a show, and boy, the next week it's in my garden. So we'd love for you to become a member today. Okay. So we're going to jump into pruning. And then I want to be sure, Danny, if you'll remind me, I want to talk just a bit about another activity that they can do now. Okay. But let's go into pruning. I brought, so I have some roses in pots, and I cut them back in the winter and throw them under the deck for winter protection. I water them in, and then I know that they're good to go in spring. So I just this morning went and pulled a few out so I could demo them. This one happens to be, this is a David Austin rose. Oh, this is Olivia Rose Austin. Okay. So the goal here, okay, is dead, disease, dying, crossing, and spindling. And it's actually a pruner salute that we do: dead, disease, dying, crossing, and spindling. And you want to mutter that under your breath as you are pruning, and keep that as the mantra so it imprints. And that way you'll learn to be a fantastic pruner. There's nothing like learning this, mastering this skill. Okay, so to see the bud eyes, I'm going to put on my glasses. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for dead. And there's lots of dead on this, and that's okay. It's expected. All right. These leaves, provide a little insulation. Actually, the snow that we had provide insulation. So I'm going to go after dead, and I'll show you how dead it is. Did y'all hear that cut? Maybe not. I did. Okay. Dead. There's no creamy center. It's just as dead as a doornail. Okay. Okay. Another term. This has dieback. Okay. It's dying back here. Okay. And it will continue to die back unless you cut under it. Also, this is very spindly and crossing. So I took that out. Okay. I'm looking for dead. Okay. Yep. This is dying. It's not quite dead, but it's dying. The center is not creamy at all. And whenever I do a cut, I always check to see, did I make a good decision?
Hey, Pam, we have a question that might be relevant. The question is, can you show how close you're cutting to the bottom of the plant?
Sure.
If that's a thing. Okay, yeah, that's people were saying because they can't see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going pretty down pretty far.
Yeah, so I'm working my way. I start at the bottom, and I actually worked my way up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Dead. Spindly. 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 And I'll show you. You see, it's getting cleaned up slowly but surely. All right. I'm gonna cut here. And if you can see, so when I talk about bud eyes, these are bud eyes. There are emerging bud eyes. And that's where the new canes come from. Why am I cutting them off? Because the canes are too spindly. And I want you to think about it like this. Nothing can grow bigger than from whence it cometh. Okay? Nothing can grow bigger. So this is already a small cane, a small branch. This is a shrub, and you can really cut them down, and you need to. And this cannot grow any. This growth cannot be any bigger than the cane it comes from, and therefore this cane cannot be any bigger than the cane it comes from. And that makes sense. So it gets spindlier and spindlier. So go ahead and cut it out. This is for health and for shaping.
I have one more question. This makes it
Sure.
you have a rose bush that's directly behind you, and it looks kind of like like it's hard to tell which plant is which. The one that's can you guys maybe push one over? That works too. I was like, push one over to the side so we can have the separation of branches. There we go. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Okay. Okay. This came out because it was clogging up the center. Okay. I'm just going to cut this one here. Now, not to belabor the point, but there are the bud eyes, they grow. You can see they grow this way and they grow this way. So this is an inside bud eye. This is an outside bud eye. And you want to cut to an outside bud eye, 1/4 of an inch. But don't agonize over it. Don't pull out a ruler and say, is it an 1/8 of an inch or is it a 1/4 of an inch? Oh my God. You will, your pruners will go directly to it after you prune a few bushes. It's going to be embedded in your subconscious. Okay. So this is a little outside eye, and see, that's just nonsense. I'm cutting this off. That's what I call a hat rack. Okay. Can you see that? That's just a bunch of growth that needs to go. It's a hat rack, and we don't want hat racks. A little dead here, and I'm not happy with how this looks. I didn't cut it back farther enough. Woo, okay, that's a hard one. Try it at a different angle. Okay, that's easier. Okay, so now this is looking a little better. Now I'm looking for some balance. It doesn't have to be completely balanced, but I'll do like that just to balance it up a little bit. But now I'm still not happy with the center. I don't know if you can see it, but I have nubs and no nubs because you want it flat. And this is this rose has a bud union. It's not on root rose. And if I cut these nubs out, I'll get replacement growth. And you want new growth directly from the bud union. So you want to be sure it's smooth, okay? And so that's it. I pruned up that rose. That didn't take that long. Your potted rose can go very, very quickly. Would it have been a mistake to cut here? No. But I think this looks pretty good and it's in good shape. Dead, diseased, dying, crossing, and spindly. So I don't see anything dead. I don't see anything dying. There's nothing crossing. And these canes will grow. This will be an extremely prolific rose, whether I put it in the ground or leave it in the pot, because it will be the right pH and it'll be well fed and well maintained and well watered. So this bush will probably, if left in the pot, it'll probably be 4 feet by 2 foot. If put in the ground, by the end of the year, easily 5.5 foot by 3 foot. Okay, so you can grow them in pots or you can grow them in the ground. It's best to get these big shrubs in the ground. Okay. All right. This is a hybrid tea. And I would just, I'm making a mess here because you have to be able to see the bud union. You have to be able to see, hopefully everyone mulched over, your roses for the winter. Okay. All right. And you've mulched them over. And now to see what's going on with that bud union, I'm really making a mess, Sally.
That's okay. That's why we have that table for you.
So you have to be able to see the bud union because that's where you want to start. And usually the bud union has a lot of dead and nubs. So I'm going to cut this nub off. Okay, I got it. And I see another nub that I have to cut off. All right. Now, again, I'm going to assess this, and I can make quick work of this because it's screaming at me and telling me what to do. So all this is just spindly growth that's left over from the winter. And I have some dieback here. I have some infractions in the cane. Looks like something bore in it. So I'm going to cut here and then assess, is that a good cut? Yes, it's healthy. Okay, that's healthy. It's nice and creamy. All right. And now, okay, you can see this is crossing, but I'm going to address this major cane. And this has damage. A cane borer has visited this. And cane borers, their goal is to go in the cane and eat the pith. And you don't want it doing that because the pith provides a nutrient path. So that cane borer is likely still in there, but when I prune, he'll be gone. So I'm going to cut below the disease part and see. I don't know if you can see that, but the cane borer is still there. Okay, the hole is still there, so it means I have to go lower, and I will. I'm going to cut to the chase. I don't know if you can see that, but I still have a problem. It's not green. There's still a hole. Means the cane borer is still among us. Whoops. Okay. And now. Okay. Good to go. Good to go. You see that in? Cane borer. I got it. Now let's see what this looks like. I took that. You see how far down I took that? Look, it's right there. It's about 3 inches, but I see bud eyes. And the bud eyes are nothing but protrusions. It's where the next cane will be. Okay. So now I've got these spindly little things here. They won't be spindly for long. And I'm going to go to an outside bud eye. Okay. So I'm done. I'll finish cleaning that pot up. So believe it or not, this hybrid tea in 7-8 weeks will be full of blooms, 25, 30 blooms, be magnificent. It'll be 3.5, 4 foot by 2 to 3 foot. And it always amazes me, the spring growing cycle. Okay. I brought this big one. Ah, it's a climber. Okay. And climbers are a little different, but again, dead, disease, dying. Don't have to worry so much about crossing, and we're going to give the spindly a haircut, but dead, disease, dying. So I have to stand up for this one. So right away, this is, you see, dead at the bud unit. Dead. I don't know if you could hear that or not. Okay. I don't like how this cane looks at all, and I don't like how it feels. It feels kind of light. So I'm going to cut it. Yeah, and this is dying back. It's disease, and it looks disease. So let's see. Oh yeah. So this is going to go all the way back to the bud unit. Okay, all the way back. I love the red canes on this. This is cool. So with climbers, I generally try, just because there's so many roses, I generally try to do my climbers and ramblers at the end of November, after Thanksgiving, and get them pruned up. Or I do them first, okay, just because they're time consuming. With this, so it's the climber is going to be better in the ground, obviously, and it's going to be tied up. So on a wall or a fence or trellis. And so when you do that, you can see the bud eyes on this. And you want them to pop as laterals. So you give the canes a little haircut. Okay. And then you bend them. This is a very flexible climber. And then you just tie it. I use fishing line, a heavyweight fishing line, and I put a nail in a wall or a trellis or whatever is supporting my climbers. And then I just do a gentle tie and I hold that in place. And that way, instead of if you leave this to its own devices, you'll get blooms just up at the top. But if you splay the canes out like that, you're going to get these laterals all along here. And it really can put on a show. And that's what you want. So this, boy, these canes are healthy. So I'm just going to give them a little haircut. Clean it up a bit. Some room to grow. Because it's a little spindly. Okay. But the beauty is tying these laterals up so you can get some gorgeous growth. And I'm looking and I'm also hearing my cuts. Like the canes that are left are very healthy. So you can see it's more shaping than anything. And I want to be sure this is clean at the bottom because it's a little lopsided. I've got two big canes here and the three canes going this way, they've all died. So I want to be sure no nubs. And that way I'm assured of getting basal breaks. And basal breaks are just bud eyes and new canes that come straight from the bud union. And I've got this nice and cleaned up, and I know I will get some good growth. Now, I could continue to clean, but I think I would focus on tying it up and then looking to see, is there anything I missed? Maybe take this little spindly out. Maybe take this little spindly out. That looks a little spindly in relation. Spindly is always in relation to the bush. So now you can see how I cleaned that up. And this is ready to pop. It's been well protected. Leaves and under the deck is three-sided, so it keeps the wind from blowing. So that's it. And that's kind of the before and after. Now, one thing I would like to add to pruning, because this is, I look at pruning as part of a spring process. What do you need to do to get back into gardening? And part is, getting your supplies. How are you going to maintain your garden? How are you going to clean your tools? What tools are you going to use? Okay. But another big part of the process, and I always do it either with a little cosmetic cutback in the fall, and that's the best time, or I definitely, if I missed out in a garden, I do it in spring, and that is a soil test. And you can get your own soil tester, but this is from Virginia Tech, and it's got a box inside of it, and you fill out this, and it's very inexpensive. You put your soil in here, okay, and it explains how to do your soil test. Your soil is you're gonna take your spade and you're gonna go 6 inches by the roots of your roses, and you're going to put soil samples from, if you have, let's say, 12 rose bushes, you want to at least sample 4 to 5 of them, and you mix that in a big 1-gallon baggie, and then you can pull out the soil and put it in here. You put a code on here and you fill this out and you mail it to Virginia Tech. And they assess the macronutrients and micronutrients in your soil But the most important thing is the pH. And this is where what makes roses a little bit more finicky than other plants. They have a very narrow pH range, and that pH is from 6.25 to 7. And you want to keep your pH in that range, all right? And by soil testing or through a formal soil test that you send off to Virginia Tech, and you can get those here at Maryfield, or by doing your own soil test, you can determine your pH. If your pH is too low, and because of our clay soil and how people plant, typically that is the issue. So you want to use calcitic lime to raise the pH. And there's a calculation. Virginia Tech will help you up. Happy to help with that. But even though you've pruned your rose bush well, if your pH is low, and someone said, I prune and my roses just don't do right, and I go to Columbia Gardens and Bon Air and other gardens, and they look so prolific. It's because the soil matters. And so we like to teach the skills, pruning skills, soil skills, how to take care of your leaves, disease management, and all those skills, throughout the year. And happy to help you with that. Yeah. Did we have some other questions? Because that's what I have for today.
We do. Everybody, please feel free to send in your questions. I am going to let everyone know now. We have quite a few, so I'm going to be able to combine some of them.
Okay.
If we don't get to all of the questions today, you can always follow up with us. I know Pam's always happy to discuss questions.
And let's stick to pruning questions.
Yes. So we're going to stick with pruning questions today. I know we had some questions about rose recommendations, and some other things I saw too, but we won't get to those today. But again, we're happy to assist you with those if you follow up with us. All right. First question. We'll start with one that was submitted by several people on the Zoom. Can you talk about whether these pruning steps that you've discussed apply to your shrub roses, your drifts, your knockouts, those types?
Yeah, we pruned a David Austin rose, and David Austin roses are shrubs.
Okay.
So this was this was the David Austin rose, the shrub rose that we pruned. And knockouts need pruning. Oh, they need pruning in a big way. I can tell you, a friend of mine, she was thinking about, she had 2 knockouts, and they were so overgrown, and she said they're just not prolific. It's because they were spindly and crossing and diseased. And so I said, I'm going to prune them back. And it took 7 to 8 weeks, but they grew out. And man, it was like they had a new life. So you definitely want to prune your shrubs. Dead, diseased, dying, crossing, spindly.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Let's talk about the pruning tools. When you use the steel wool at the beginning, does that have any sharpening effect, or do you both sharpen and use the steel wool separately?
Say it again. The steel wool.
When you use the steel wool, the question was, does that have a sharpening effect on the tools? Does that sharpen them at all?
Not really. It's more debris cleaning. I mean, we're talking about on the sharpening tools, something completely different.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And the other question about the tools was, what do burrs on the blade look like? So what are you looking for?
Pits.
Pits?
If you would run your finger along the blade, which I don't recommend, okay, you could feel the pits. And often you can see the pits. I know someone asked me if I could revitalize, her pruners, and man, I worked on them for a long time. They were so pitted and had so many burrs in it, but we got it kind of reconditioned. But you shouldn't let your tools go that way. But it's like a little pit or a little indent, and it doesn't make for a clean cut. And when you're pruning, the goal is to have sharp tools so you have a clean cut. Because if you do a jagged cut or a crushing cut, you're crushing the good part of the cane. So
Okay.
that it's just like a chef in a kitchen. You want sharp knives.
Okay. Next question. We had a few about this. When you're pruning, and part of this is just I think that we're on a video call, so we can't see as well. What are the signs besides seeing the creamy pith when you're choosing what to prune and you're saying something's dead or has dieback? How are you seeing that on the shrub or on the bush, on the rose bush?
Well, I'll show you. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but that's not a green cane.
Okay.
That's a brown cane. And also, when I touch it, it feels hollow. It's a lightweight because the water is not being transported up. And I mean, I can feel that, by touch. Okay. This is dieback, and when there's and then this had died back. So that's a clue that nutrients aren't going here. So I'm going to cut below to see, is that good or is it bad? So you have to look at the cane health. Now, I think with experience, you determine between old canes and dead canes. But if you have a bush with 4 canes and 3 of them are green and one is black or brown, you want to cut below all of the black or brown, and you may have to cut that cane completely out. And don't worry about it because it grows back. But if you don't cut it out, that's when the problems come in. Okay.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
I think so.
It's much easier, in person, because if we're standing over a bush, I may say there are 5 canes. One is completely dead, one's dying. Let's address it, and then you quickly discern. Okay, healthy, dead, dying. So
yeah, that's why those in-person classes you guys are a great resource. All right, next question. I think you've addressed this. I'm going to go ahead and ask it. How far down can you prune the hybrid teas? It looks like you were pruning all the way down to the.
Well, the thing is, I know people think I'm crazy, but the bush tells you. Okay. Dead, diseased, dying, crossing, spindly. So if the bush emerges from winter healthy, it may be this high. But if it's dead, diseased, or dying, I'm going to cut it out. So if the dead is all the way down, I mean, I've cut bushes where there's no canes. It's simply a bud union. Do I recommend that? Yeah, if it's dead or dying. But I don't like to give a height because I think that's the wrong way to prune, because you don't want to say 2 feet and then you've left all this dead, disease, dying, crossing, spindly on. That makes no sense. So the bush is going to tell you, and then I go and I even it up just to achieve some balance. And that's more around shaping and form and the cosmetic look. So.
Okay. Quick question for you. I was just thinking people were going to ask this, and I can't remember. Did you get that soil test from our plant clinic, or did you order that separately?
Oh, no. This comes right from the plant clinic.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure we carry those you can pick them up at our plant clinic. So for anybody asking, we have them at our stores.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Okay, I had it and I just scrolled away from it. When is too late in the season to trim back your roses?
Okay, it's never too late. Okay, there's a desired window of opportunity. You look forward to these blooms. So the window in our area is typically between March 15th and let's say April 5th. All right. And now the days are getting longer, and that's a sign grow, grow, grow. And then the ground is starting to warm up, grow, grow, grow. So you want to do your pruning, and it doesn't matter if the bush is totally leafed out. You want to prune, all right, and don't let that false growth, trick you. So you want to prune, and that's the ideal time. There, if you miss, I mean, I've pruned roses in June. I pruned them in July. I've planted them in 100-degree heat. They sulk a bit, and it's not ideal, and it's not something you look forward to. but you can prune later in the year. It's best to prune, surgical prune. It's right around the corner.
Okay. We've had a few questions about what to look for when you're pruning a more mature rose plant. So is there an ideal, if you're pruning a mature rose, are you looking for, the question is, are we looking for 3 to 4 healthy canes? Are we pruning those? Are we looking to have them centered around a bud union? Do you have like a mature rose bush pruning ideal? No?
No, it certainly depends on the variety. So if something is dead or diseased or dying, it's going to be cut out. So it may leave it to be a 1 cane wonder, all right? Or maybe it has 5 canes and they're all perfectly healthy. That's great. I will say on climbers are a little bit different. So to keep a climber healthy and very prolific, and I know it's a little, pruning can be a little counterintuitive with climbers. After you've had a mature climber for about 5 years, you want to take the oldest cane. You want to take it out. You want to take it down. And that's to help the climber continue to thrive and to produce new basin breaks.
Okay. Let's see here because we got a couple more minutes. So I want to see. Okay, here's a question. How often should you prune? Do you prune every year?
Oh, absolutely. So there's cosmetic cleanup in the fall, there's surgical spring pruning, and then there's deadheading. In deadheading, we have Maryville. We have a couple of tutorials on how to deadhead. We haven't talked about deadheading. We've talked about our surgical spring pruning, and you deadhead throughout the year, and that's for the health of the bush as well as for shaping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, every year, don't miss.
Okay. Should I remove, this is an interesting one. I haven't thought of this before, but should I remove the rose hips from my plants so the energy goes into the plant and not into the rose hips? I guess that's pruning, like deadheading maybe.
Well, roses, it's a great question because roses is about energy.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the energy centered on the bottom of the plant.
Okay.
And it's a great visual. When I got something like this, I always think, oh, wow, all the energy now is centered. It's centered in the bottom of this plant. And this plant is going to take off because I forced the energy down. And everything that's left is going to be productive. And we're not going to waste any energy trying for a cane to limp along.
Okay.
Go ahead and take it now. And because when it gets 100 degrees, it's going to die anyway.
Okay. This will be our last question.
Sure.
I've heard that you shouldn't take more than 1/3 to 1/2 of the height of the rose bush. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. So if you're talking cosmetic cutback for the fall, the 1/3 rule basically applies. So if I've got a 6-foot bush, I may cut it back to 4 feet so it doesn't whip in the wind. And that's a cosmetic cutback that I would do in the fall for the health of the plants. Surgical pruning is about dead, diseased, dying, crossing in spindly. Doesn't matter if it's a third of the bush, doesn't matter if it's the whole bush, or it could be, you could have a bush this high. If you go back to that visual I showed at the beginning, that was probably a 6-foot bush, and it was healthy and even down kind of to the 2-foot level. So that's where they kept it. But if one of those canes had been unhealthy, it would have gone to the ground. So again, the bush is going to tell you where to cut, not a rule of thirds rule.
Gotcha.
That applies in photography.
Okay, perfect. Well, Pam, as always, thank you so much. We are out of time for today, so I want to give you a minute if you have anything you want to close with or any information. Just want to let everybody know first, we will have an email coming out tomorrow with the coupon. I'll try and get those dates from you, Pam. If you don't mind sharing those with me, I'll send them out for anyone interested in any of the in-person pruning workshops. Then I will send those dates out, and we'll have the recording available on our YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon.
Good. And I'd love for you all to become members of Arlington Rose Foundation. We have a lot of fun and you learn a lot of skills. And if you want a great rose garden, it's a fun way to learn.
Okay. All right. Well, perfect. Pam, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate it when you can. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.